Well, I have another review for you today. This one's not a knife. This is something I haven't reviewed before, probably because I don't take it into the woods all the time, but I think it's worth having a look at. And that is my Cold Steel Pipe Hawk. If you're interested in seeing what I think about it, stay tuned. So the Cold Steel Pipe Hawk is nothing new. Most people have seen reviews on these things before. You might likely even own one, or at least one of the other Cold Steel Tomahawks. I picked this up probably 2.5, maybe even 3 years ago. Likely influenced by reviews I'd seen on YouTube. Wasn't sure how it would perform in the woods, but when I came across it in one of the surplus stores here in Halifax, I thought it was a good investment. It was about $35, and I thought if it lives up to the reputation it has, I think it might be something fun to use in the woods, or at least capable of using in the woods. So stock, the Cold Steel Pipe Hawk is about a 22-inch hickory handle on it, and you can see I've modified this one. I'll talk about the modifications in a minute. The head is drop forged 1055 high carbon steel, which is a good steel for an axe or a hatchet. Being of a medium carbon content, it allows it to be sharpened up to a fairly good edge, but still, where this is going to be a high impact tool, any chipping, rolling, or anything that happens to the blade can be easily taken out and it can be resharpened, and we'll talk about sharpening this in a minute. It weighs about 28 ounces overall. It has, well, it has a good swing. One of the things that Cold Steel has done, which is quite interesting considering the budget nature of this, is that they've differentially hardened it. So the bit is harder than the eye, as is the hammer pawl. And the eye is just intentionally a little bit softer because you don't want that snapping or cracking, I guess, from the impacts on either end of this. So in addition to being a capable chopper, the hammer pole can be used for hammering nails or whatever else you need to hammer it with, maybe smashing nuts. I've even seen people using this to crack stones open to get sharp edges, maybe for flint and steel. So the design of it, being known as a pipe hawk, is I guess a rendition of a tomahawk that existed some years ago, where in fact the bowl on the hammer pole was hollowed out, as was the handle, and it could be used to smoke with. Interesting design, probably more of a mantelpiece than a functional tomahawk at the time, I'm not quite sure. They've given good rendition of that with this tomahawk, but it's the extra weight that hammer pole provides over some of the other tomahawks in their lineup that I wanted with this. So the history of the tomahawk. So tomahawks have been used by cultures all around the world, one style or another, primarily as either a do-all tool or a weapon, or a combination thereof. They have been used in warfare for quite a long time, and even up into including the Vietnam War, a form of the tomahawk was used in warfare for close combat. In our own past, our ancestor used these in the settling of North America, maybe not this design, but other tomahawk designs, because it could be carried without a handle. And the handle, when made, if it broke, could easily be remade. I've done some modifications to my tomahawk that not prevent me, but makes it a little bit more difficult to take the handle on and off. And I'll show you what those are now. So to start with, when I got the tomahawk, it was covered in a black lacquer paint. It was ugly. Paint stripper came off quite easily. Then I was left with bare metal. And what I did from there is I did virtually no sanding, no other preparation of the steel itself other than make sure it was perfectly clean, grease-free. And then I just gave it a patina, a forced patina, using vinegar and mustard. Every once in a while I do have to touch that up because it will come off over use, especially if you're cleaning it up. It occasionally will powder a tiny bit of rust on the surface, so that comes off quite easily with usually with just some steel wool, some WD-40. Then I'll clean that off with alcohol, touch it up again with vinegar and mustard, and I've got a good patina. And the patina is used to delay rust. I wouldn't say it prevents rust, but it delays rust. So what else did I do to it? Well, the 22-inch handle I found a little bit too long. I cut some length off of that, and now it's a 19-inch handle. There was a bit of a lacquer on the wood itself, and all I had to do was just some light sanding of the handle itself, and I was able to just put a light stain on it, which I then sealed in with some tung oil. The head was quite loose on the handle as well. That just took a little bit of carving with a knife, a little bit of file work just so it's seated properly, and now it seats very stiff. Yet if I was to pound this on the handle, that head would become loose, which is the way they're supposed to come off. So right now it has been sharpened. I sharpened it just recently after using it quite a bit in the woods lately. I sharpened it with an axe stone, just an axe puck. And just a little bit of work with the axe puck both sides, and it comes back to almost hair pulp and sharp. To finish it off, I have a ceramic rod that I just go up over it. For field maintenance, I have a small stone that's a combination diamond stone, ceramic stone, and that's all I need. Any major rolls or any major chips I can take out when I get home, but to bring it back to a functional edge, it doesn't take a whole lot. Okay, the question though is this a one-tool option? It's been suggested that that's what the intent of the Tomahawk was. The one tool that you can carry that'll carry out all the function you need it to in the woods. Well, let's test that theory out. Stay tuned. All right, in order for this to be considered a one-tool option, it has to be capable of a large variety of tasks. And those tasks include things like chopping, splitting, carving, food preparation, a number of things. It doesn't have to be perfect at all those things, but it must be at least capable of all those things. Well, in front of me I have what is about a 3-inch, it's either maple or oak because it's right between two, a maple and an oak, and the bark is very similar on both of these. It's about 3 inches in diameter, yet it goes about 20 feet in the air. Likely it was starved for the sunlight that it required, as well as the rocky ground is likely was starved from nutrients. So this tree is well dead, as you can see from the bark coming off of it. Shake it, make sure it's not going to come down or any of the branches are going to come down on me. The last thing I do before I start chopping is to take the mask off. The mask goes in my pocket. It'll be the first thing I do is to put it back on once the tree is down. Alright, let's give this a go and see what we come up with. Got to do this at a height. I think I'm going to adjust the camera so that you can see the impacts more than see me. Bark coming off on me. It has great bite into the wood. It's going in a long way into the wood. Looks like maple but feels like oak, so I'm not sure which it is. It's hard. I'll come at it from the other side, get my footing. Let's see if it's ready for a push. Yep. Missed the boat. And down it goes. Okay, in order for the Tomahawk to be considered a one-tool option, it has to do a lot of different things. We've taken down a tree with it. Now we're going to have to do a little bucking up of the wood. So this is that very top branch that came off of that tree, and this should be obviously not a challenge at all for it. Get it to cooperate. Helps to hit it. Let's get in some of the thicker portions of it and see how it makes out here. The bite is deep. Got to get some of the small stuff off. It bites really deep. Okay, so it'll buck the smaller wood. Let's try some splitting. Okay, so at 26 ounces, the CRKT Pipe Hawk is approaching the Grants Forest Brooks Small Forest Axe in weight. A little lighter yet, but getting close. It also has a very narrow, thin bit right through here, which allows it to bite in very deeply, as you've seen. Now, I have to tell you that the small handle on this is making it really hard to hold on to with my extra large hands, but one of the things we want to know is, can we split wood down into firewood to kindling? It's got some knots we have to work our way through. Split those. This is some of the tree we just took down, and this is quite thick. Some nice looking wood on the inside here. This is a long, knotty piece. Let's see what we can do. That's resisting splitting, not surprisingly. Oh, I picked a piece to demonstrate on, didn't I? The knots in this are just torturing me. See where my splits are going? Well, it's split, but the knots are holding it. Oh, can't give up now. There we go. Wicket knots. All right, so it splits. Let's see if it can feather. So yet another task, of course, you want your one tool option to be able to do is to carve, at least to do some feathering for the creation of your fire. So by choking up on the grip right behind the blade, I can get right center line with the edge and have a lot of control that way. If I take my time, I can get some nice fine curls. Like any knife, you have to learn where the edge is, and being a convex, it's not quite as natural as it is with a Scandinavian or a zero grind. But still, it can be done. It's just a matter of getting used to the geometry of the blade. Getting a little short. Well, it wouldn't be the tool I would reach for in camp if I had to make a lot of curls, but in a pinch, I can make curls with this. The Cold Steel Pipe Hawk. Is it a one-tool option? I don't think so. Quite honestly, I don't believe in one-tool options. I believe that I would sooner have an axe for splitting and chopping. I would sooner have a saw for bucking and taking down trees. I would sooner have a knife for carving, especially doing feather sticks or any other fine carving. However, if this was the only tool I had, yes, I could get by with it quite well. It does work for all those tasks if it doesn't excel at them. It's a nice fun tool to have. One thing I didn't mention is I've also filed down the edge so I can use it with, or that's the back edge of the knife, the top here, so I could use it with a ferrocerium rod. So a one-tool option, no, it's not. A good tool for what it is, absolutely. Even after all the work I've been doing with it, it still sports a very, very sharp edge. No rolls, no chips. Okay, the Cold Steel Pipe Hawk. So if you've enjoyed this review, maybe you'll consider subscribing to my channel, but in the meantime, get out and explore. Take that path less traveled. It'll make all the difference. Bye for now.